Hi, Year 3-4. I hope you're all well. I must admit I am really missing teaching you and having you in school. It's rather strange being here without you, and we certainly are missing all of you. We have started we're fairly new into this book. It seems a really good book, and I'm certainly enjoying it. It's my turn to read today, and we're on chapter 6, which is called Be Afraid, Be Terribly Afraid. Now, my little puppies, I'm afraid this part of the story can get a mite frightening. But don't you worry about it none. After all, it can't be so bad if Papa Toto is here to tell the tale, can it? And here I am, right here. Tiny Toto, you come and snuggle up a little closer. There's a good boy. On we go then. The further we walked, the darker the world about us seemed to become. Very little sunlight found its way through because the trees grew so tall and thick on either side of the yellow brick road. Well, you couldn't hardly call it yellow anymore. The road, what little you could see of it, was covered in leaves and branches and twigs. If there were any birds about, they had stopped singing. The quietness of the forest was eerie, and I was glad of Tin Woodman's clanking steps and his cheery singing and humming. He kept my spirits up, but I needed more than a song to keep me going. I kept looking up at Dorothy with my eyes, telling her what I was after. Food! I need food, I was trying to say. Anything will do, anything. How about one of these? I picked up a nut from the road to show her. Hazelnuts, she cried, bending down to gather all she could. Tin Woodman and Scarecrow helped her, and soon there was a whole pile of them. We have to crack them open, said Dorothy. Tin Woodman, would you be very kind and stamp on these for us? Toto and me are so very hungry. Easily done, he replied, and with one stamp he cracked them all. So Dorothy and I feasted ourselves on all the nuts we could eat. It wasn't much, but it was a lot better than nothing. Neither Tin Woodman nor Scarecrow wanted any of them. Eating just didn't seem to interest them. So the nuts were all for us. Dorothy filled her basket with all the hazelnuts and chestnuts and walnuts she could find, and on we went. Much happier now, both of us. I was trotting on, and she was skipping along and singing too. Tin Woodman and Scarecrow joined in after a while. Strange sound they made together, but they seemed to like it. Life was good again, despite the shadowy gloom and the miserly mist all about us. But soon enough the singing stopped, the skipping and trotting slowed to a walk, then a weary plodding. My feet ache, my legs ache, Dorothy said. I don't like to complain. Aunt Em said I shouldn't. But how far is it to the Emerald City? Do you know, Tin Woodman? I have no idea, he said, stomping on and clanking loudly as he went. My pa went there once. I don't like to frighten you, but I remember he did say this was a dangerous country to travel through. So it's a good thing there are all four of us. We can all look after each other, can't we? I'm not afraid, so long as you look after that oil can, Dorothy. Scarecrow doesn't have a brain, so he can't be scared. You have to have a brain to be scared. Fire! Said Scarecrow. I don't like fire at all. I'm not scared of it. I just don't like it. And Dorothy told me she was once kissed by the good witch of the north, so no one can harm her. So she's got nothing to be scared of. That only leaves Toto. Do you think Toto is frightened? I growled at that, just to show everyone I was scared of nothing and no one, which wasn't true, of course, but none of them were to know that, except Dorothy, who knew everything about me. Toto may be small, but he's very brave, said Dorothy. Well, mostly. We can all look after Toto, can't we? That's what friends are for, isn't it? Nothing and no one will ever hurt you, Toto, I promise. It was just as Dorothy said these last words that we heard a terrible roaring from the forest, and before we had time to even run, a huge lion leapt out of the trees right in front of us. Be afraid, he roared. Be terribly afraid. In a trice, the lion lashed out with his paw, and Scarecrow was sent flying. And then he did the same thing to Tin Woodman, sending him sprawling on the road with much clattering and crashing. Then the lion turned on Dorothy and roared mightily. Until now, I had just stood there, too shocked to move. But I didn't at all, like the way he was looking at Dorothy. So I went for him. I charged him, making like I was a wolf, barking wildly, tail pointing, back bristling like a bottle brush. "No one threatens my Dorothy." I'd show him. That was when the lion rounded on me and opened his great mouth and roared at me with all his sharp white teeth, with all his horrible bad breath. Any moment I knew I'd be a dead dog. But then Dorothy rushed forward and gave him a big push and slapped him on his paw. "Naughty, naughty lion," she was shouting. "Don't you dare bite my dear little Toto. How could you? You should be ashamed of yourself. A great big lion like you attacking a sweet little dog? You nasty, nasty lion. Put your claws away this minute." I don't think I had ever seen Dorothy so furious. To my amazement, the lion did not attack her or me, but shrank back, whining pitifully and rubbing his nose with the side of his paw. "You didn't have to push me," the lion cried, and he was crying, really crying. "I wasn't going to bite him." "But you were trying to, weren't you?" Dorothy said. "You're a bad, bad lion. Look how small little Toto is and how big and strong you are. You're just a big, horrible bully and a coward too. What's more, and what did Scarecrow ever do to you, or Tin Woodman? Why did you need to knock them about like that? How could they hurt you? One is made of nothing but straw, the other of nothing but tin." There is a picture of the lion trying to attack. And they're nice, kind folk too. And they're my friends. You're a coward. A cowardy custard. That's what you are. I was still barking at him for all I was worth, so that the lion should know I was agreeing with everything Dorothy was telling him. The lion sat back and put his paws over his ears. "Don't be angry with me," he said. "You frighten me so." "How can you be frightened of little Toto?" Dorothy asked. "I mean, look at him. He's so small and sweet. And you're a ginormous, humongous lion. You're supposed to be the king of beasts, and you really are a coward, aren't you?" "I think I must be the most cowardly lion that ever lived," the lion said. "I can roar, I can bare my teeth, but at heart I'm just a softy, even when I'm out." There is a picture of the lion getting all teary, realising that he's quite a coward. "Even when I'm out hunting, a deer only has to stamp her foot at me and I run. That's why I go hungry a lot. I have always been like this, and it makes me so sad, so unhappy. I know a lion is supposed to be brave. My mother and father brought me up to be like that, but I'm not. I think I was born like this, with no courage inside me. You mustn't ever tell anyone, but I'm a useless lion. Not 1 ounce of courage in my whole miserable body." And then the lion was weeping so pitifully that I stopped barking, and Dorothy went to put an arm around him to comfort him. "Have you got any brains, lion?" Scarecrow asked him. "I think so," the lion replied. "Why do you ask?" "Because I have no brains at all," Scarecrow said. "My head has no room for a brain. It is stuffed with straw. I'm going to the great and terrible Wizard of Oz in the Emerald City to ask him to give me some brains so I can think." "And I'm going to ask him for a heart," said the Tin Woodman, "so I can feel again, like I used to before I was just tin." "And I'm going to ask him if he can tell Toto and me how to get back home to Kansas," said Dorothy. "Home is home, and home is best." "You're so doggone right," I woofed. "So, might I ask him for some courage, do you think?" asked the lion. "Would he do that for me? Then I could be a proper lion." "Why not?" said Dorothy. "Come along with us, lion, just so long as you don't eat us. We'd be more than glad to have you, wouldn't we? You can help Toto frighten away anyone who tries to hurt us on the way. Would you do that for us?" "Of course," said Lion, wiping away the last of his tears. "I shall pretend to be the bravest lion there ever was, like this." And with that, he roared so loudly and bared his teeth so horribly that we forgot for several moments that he was just pretending. So now there were five of us. There was Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Woodman, Lion, and me, off to see the great and terrible Wizard of Oz. They all seemed to think he was so wonderful and wise. Dorothy did too, but I wasn't so sure. He sounded a bit scary to me. I mean, he wasn't called terrible for nothing, was he? And talking of scary, Lion walked alongside behind us, not scary any more at all, but as friendly as you like. I quite liked him. I so wanted to be big and strong like him, with a roar that terrified the world, and he liked me too. "Toto, my friend," he said as we walked along, "you may be small, with little legs and little teeth, but you stood up to me to protect Dorothy. You have the courage of a lion already, a proper lion." But if I'm honest, from time to time when he looked down at me, licking his whiskery lips and showing me his great teeth, I couldn't make up my mind whether he was smiling at me or thinking of me as his next meal. Lion may not have been brave, but he was very clever. He seemed to know what I was thinking. "I'd never eat you, little Toto," he said. "Nor Dorothy, nor Tin Woodman, nor Scarecrow, because you are my friends. I like you too much, and besides, I've decided none of you would taste very nice. I'm most particular about what I eat, I can tell you." I was much relieved and very pleased indeed to hear it. Friendly though I was now with Lion, I liked above all to be alone with Dorothy. She would tell me all her hopes and fears, and I would listen, or at least pretend to. Often we would find ourselves walking ahead together, Lion and Scarecrow and Tin Woodman far behind us. "I like our new friends, Toto," she told me once, "but every night I dream of Kansas and home and Aunt Em and Uncle Henry. Do you think they're all right? Won't it be nice to go home? I'm not complaining, mind. I have lovely new red shoes, 3 new friends, and you, Toto. I have you, my best friend in all of the world." She looked over her shoulder and went on in a whisper. "They are strange companions, Toto, aren't they? I mean, did you see how upset Tin Woodman was when he stepped on that beetle and squashed it by mistake? Cried his eyes out, didn't he? He had tears running down his face. Did you see? I had to wipe them away and then oil his jaw so it didn't rust up again. He was so sad. Well, you can't be sad if you haven't got a heart, can you?" I told her with my eyes that I agreed, that I didn't know what they were all fussing about. It seemed to me that Scarecrow wasn't brainless at all. He just thought he was. And I wouldn't have minded betting either that deep down the lion was as brave as any other lion in the world. I told her something else with my eyes too, and my tail. I was so hungry, I told her. I could do with a sausage or two. "Me too," she said. Fantastic. That is the end of chapter 6. So on Monday, you will hear chapter 7, our next chapter in this wonderful book. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I also, from me and for the rest of the teachers in Lower Key Stage 2, we hope you have a wonderful weekend, have lots of fun with your family, and you stay happy, healthy and safe. See you on Monday.